Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing another songs as books, books as songs video, but with a bit of a twist. So last time I did this I just did like any song by anyone. This time we're going to do it just for the first part of the Tortured Poets Department. So this isn't the whole lot, this is just the first album. I might do the second album at some point, but I thought 16 in one video is probably enough. This was like kind of inspired by Larry Reid's. I was thinking of doing something like this anyway, but the format of this I've taken from her video that she uploaded the other day. So basically I'm going to go through every song on the album and give you a book, or sometimes two books, but I've tried to stick to one that matches that song. Most of them are different to Larry's suggestions because obviously I've already taken the format. I wasn't going to take the books as well, but I think there are two or three. I can't remember which ones, but I remember when I wrote my list knowing that there's two or three that are the same because I can't think of anything better than her. And when I heard the songs, the exact same books came to mind and I can't think of anything else. So yeah, for most of them they are different to Larry's, but there are a couple that are the same. So full credit goes to her for kind of the format of this video, and that was my bottle that made that weird noise, and for a couple of the books that I'm going to give as well. But I have read all of these books, I've not just like blindly taken her suggestions. If I'm saying them it's because I also agree with them. So without further ado, let's get straight on with it. So the first song is Fortnight. Ironically I think this is the one I struggled with the most, which is a great start to the video. I am much more convinced by my other choices. I think this is probably the least convincing one on here, but I really did struggle with this one. So basically Fortnight is a song to me about people that have like kind of like the one that got away, like they were together and then their lives have ended up going down the path that they're with other people, and then they end up back in each other's lives where when they're still with the new partners and they're like, I kind of should have ended up with you instead. And this book doesn't follow that same trajectory completely, but it has the same vibe of like, we had something and then we both ended up with other people and then we came back into each other's lives, and it wasn't until we came back into each other's lives that we kind of realised how wrong those other people were for us, you know? And I've chosen Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. Again, I don't think the vibe matches. The book doesn't have that same kind of angry tone as the song does, so it's not my best match. But I really can't think of anything else, and I think the message matches more than the vibe of like, they come back into each other's lives and they're a bit like, oh yeah, those feelings aren't gone, like this person isn't right for me, like I should be with you. The next one, Tortured Poets Department. So I picked a few, I'm not going to read out like specific lyrics or else we're going to be here all day, so I'm like paraphrasing, but in the song it says things like, you know, about not like the word broken, but just to paraphrase, about like being broken and like repeating mistakes and things like that. And to me that really matches well with, I don't know where it is, I'm not going to hold up all the books because again we'll be here all day, but Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. Just Lo and Lily, like they're just made for each other. And also I think to me Lo and Lily are very humble with their love, like you can tell that it's like soulmate vibes, but I feel like their love is a very everyday love. And in the song where it's like, you're not Dylan Thomas, I'm not Patti Smith, they say in the Chelsea Hotel, we're just modern idiots. I don't know why I put the word just in, that's not in the lyrics. Anyway, yeah, I feel like it just reminds me of Lily and Lo, like we're just idiots, making mistakes, dealing with these addictions that are really like obviously difficult to deal with. We don't always do the right thing, but we're just meant to be together. I don't know, it just reminds me a lot of Lily and Lo. The third one, My Boy Only Breaks His Favourite Toys. Now for this one it's more of a couple rather than one specific book, and it's Joey and Aoife, and I feel like I've not even finished Saving Six yet, but they're already giving me this vibe. They started giving me this vibe in Keeping 13. I won't spoil anything for any of these books, but if you've read it, towards the end obviously Joey's kind of in and out, and yeah, I won't say anything else, but if you've read it hopefully you know what I'm like referring to when he's not always there and he's there and then he's not. And he obviously, we don't get Aoife's point of view in that book, but I imagine that's hard for her to deal with. I haven't got there to that timeline in their books yet, so I don't know if we get to see Aoife's point of view on that. I'm assuming we will, but anyway, I can imagine that that was very difficult for Aoife. And then throughout Saving 6, where we skip back right to the beginning of their relationship, again, Joey makes a lot of mistakes. He hurts Aoife a lot, whether that be on purpose to push her away or just by accident. And I just feel like it fits, like, because Aoife just sticks by him. Like, obviously she gets angry at him and they go for periods of time where they don't talk, but I just feel like she knows that there's something there between them. And like, she knows he's flawed and she gets angry at him and she doesn't let him get away with things. But, you know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like it fits. The next one, I'm pretty sure this is the same book that Larry said, but as soon as I heard this song I thought of this book. And I can't think of anything else that fits it better. I can think of other books that like kind of fit, but I think this is like the vibe and the attitude in this song fits this book, and it's Twisted Games, which matches with Down Bad. I just feel like Bridget really has that attitude of like, well, if I can't have him, like, if I can't have him, I'm not doing it. Like, she's really determined. She's finding ways that she can be with this man. And I feel like that determination and that kind of the teenage petulance thing, like, I just feel like that really matches her mood and her kind of vibe throughout the book, when everyone's like, well, you can't be with him, and she's like, watch me. Like, literally watch me. So yeah, Down Bad and Twisted Games, I feel like match. I'm sorry to kind of give the same one as Larry, but I can't think of a better one for this. The next one, I can't remember if this is the same as Larry's. This one might be the same too. So For So Long London, I don't know if there's another book I could pick other than Magnolia Parks. Like, come on, if you read this, the ending of this first book specifically, like, I could not choose anything else. Even if Larry said this one, like, I can't choose another book for this song. Like, come on. So Long London is obviously about a long, quite heartfelt, deep relationship, and then the end of that and having to kind of come to terms with not only the relationship ending but everything else that came with that relationship, like the places you associate with it, everything like that just kind of ending. And again, if you've read Magnolia Parks, could it get any more perfect? If you haven't read Magnolia Parks, it's a very, I've not even said what any of these books are about. I mean, like, it kind of matches up with the songs, but Magnolia Parks is a very toxic romance of two people that have been in love forever and have a very, like, I don't think I've ever read anyone that has the soulmate connection of Magnolia and BJ. Like, I've never read a romance that just feels so raw and so kind of deep rooted within them as people, and I feel like that matches really well with So Long London. Like, all the little intricacies and everything, I feel like really go. And Magnolia Parks is also set in London, so it fits even better. The next song on the album is But Daddy I Love Him, and for this I think Powerless by Elsie Silver goes really well. So obviously But Daddy I Love Him is a song about being with someone that is like forbidden, and in Powerless, Sloane is supposed to marry this like rich annoying white man who her dad wants her to marry for like status and power and stuff like that. And she gets to the wedding day. This is right at the beginning of the book, by the way. She gets all the way to the wedding day and then she's like, actually, no, I'm not marrying this freak. And she ends up then kind of kindling something up with her childhood best friend, who her family does not approve of at all because he's not rich and wealthy with like a powerful family name. And she's like, actually care, like, bye. And she just bees with him anyway. For me, the scene that sticks out in my head, this isn't, I'll just say it out of context, is that dinner she has with her dad, her ex, and Jasper. Like, that the end of that scene when they leave the restaurant is this song to me. Like, I just picture that scene like on loop in my head when I'm listening to this song. And not necessarily the end of the song, because at the end of the book, you know, it's not necessarily as positive as the end of this song, but the whole thing as a whole of like, that was a really weird sentence that I just said. The whole vibe of just like, but I love him anyway, and like, it'd be nice if you approved, but like, I'm not going to be with who you say I should be with because he's a freak and I don't like him. So yeah, I love that book. I think it's an underrated book in the series, you know. I might have to reread it. Next song on the album is Fresh Out the Slammer, which to me is a song about being like really fresh out of a really bad situation and just going back home, whether that be literally or I take it more as like a person where you just feel so comfortable with them, and they're your like first place that you go, and you've finally like permanently broken out of this bad situation, and you're like permanently going back home to your person who feels like home to you. And to me that matches perfectly with Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. Just like in the book, she is, what is she? She's a doctor, isn't she? I can't remember her job title, but she's like quite high up in this hospital, and a really busy pace of life, works like up to 80 hours a week, lives in this bustling city, really fast pace of life. And then she meets this man from like the smallest of small towns, and that becomes her kind of like safe haven where she goes to just get away from it all. And then turns out her ex is an absolute freak of nature, like a horrible man, and she finds solace away from that horrible situation in this small town with this new man. No cheating or anything, like her and her ex have already broken up right at the beginning of the book. There's no like boundaries there or anything that are crossed. It's just, yeah, I think it fits so well that she finally breaks out of this horrific marriage. They were married, I think, weren't they? I think so. This horrific relationship marriage that she's been in, and she's finally found like her place and her home, and it's not what she thought it would be. It's nothing like the life that she grew up in, but she's finally just found like peace. The next song is Florida, and I'm gonna say Part of Your World again. I've tried not to repeat books, but there were a couple where I just couldn't think of anything better. And again, kind of on the same lines, your hometown, like you're just a guest there. She grew up in this place and she thought that life was for her, and like it just kind of wasn't. And again, she ended up finding that happiness somewhere away from there, kind of running away from that hometown where she thought she fit in. And then she slowly kind of realised that the people around her weren't necessarily who she wanted to be surrounding herself with, and she found that kind of happiness elsewhere. This was one that I struggled with as well. Again, I don't think the vibe of the book matches the song, because Part of Your World is quite like a quiet, calm kind of book, and obviously Florida isn't a calm song, and I did struggle with this one a bit, but this is kind of the best I could come up with. Again, just going down that route of like really focusing on that lyric of being a guest in the place that you come from, and like, yeah, that's the best I could come up with for that one. It's another one that I struggled with. The next one, Guilty as Sin. So to me, this song is about like where you know there's a vibe with someone, but you're not doing anything about it, and therefore it's fine. Like you might even have feelings for them, but as long as you're not touching them, like it's fine. And Saving Six, like come on. I've not even finished the book yet, but like come on. I don't want to spoil anything, especially if you've not started the Boys of Tommen series at all. I was quite surprised going into Saving Six, like the way that it starts. So I don't want to spoil anything with this one, but come on, like from Aoife's point of view. I'm not going to say anything else because I really don't want to spoil it, but yeah. If you've read it, hopefully you agree and you know what I mean. So the next one is Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, and this could fit like so many fantasy books. I know a lot of people have said Throne of Glass, which I definitely agree with, but I wanted to just say something different because I feel like we all kind of know that it fits Throne of Glass. And I went with Powerless by Lauren Roberts because I feel like our main character, Payden, is this like quiet girl. She's quite understated. I think people underestimate her because of where she comes from. She's not rich, she lives on the streets. And then she gets entered into this big competition with people that have trained for this competition their entire lives, and obviously ends up being quite powerful within said competition. And also, obviously not everyone knows that she doesn't have powers, but the premise of the story is that to survive in this world you have to have some kind of power, and she doesn't. She's just pretending that she does. So if like, I feel like if everyone knew that, obviously she'd like die, but people would really underestimate that as well. And like, she knows in her own head that she has no power, but she's still powerful, you know? Does that make sense? I don't know if it does. The Hunger Games also fits this one perfectly, like Katniss, a girl from District 12. Who would be afraid of a little girl who volunteered from District 12? But you should be, because obviously she wins the Hunger Games. Sorry if the angles change, SD card got full and I've now only got 11 minutes left, so we might have to speed up a little bit. Next song is I Can Fix Him, and to me this is so practice makes perfect by by Sarah Adams coded. So we've got Annie, who is so quiet, the town sweetheart. Everyone thinks she's like this really mellow little girl, even though she's a grown woman, and everyone underestimates her. And then she starts growing close to Will, who is a bodyguard with loads of tattoos, and everyone in this little town is scandalised by him and thinks he's like so bad for Annie, thinks he's a bad influence. I'm talking like they start petitions. Like, this could go for But Daddy I Love Him as well, because they fully like start petitions and have town meetings to try and get them apart from each other. But because everyone thinks he's like bad, but he isn't, like he's actually so sweet. And Annie's like, I just want to be with him anyway, like you're all weird for being so obsessed, which is obviously very But Daddy I Love Him coded. But the reason I put this for I Can Fix Him is because of that lyric where it's like, when I say he's my man. Because in the book, whenever, even like before they're together, whenever they're just around each other, everyone's like, get away from her, like you're not good for her. And she's like, no, but like it'll be fine, like he's actually really sweet. And everyone's like, no he's not. And she's like, no but he is, and he actually is. She's right. So yeah, I feel like that fits quite well with that one. I'd put that for both that one and But Daddy I Love Him. I think it could go for both. The next one, LOML. I'm sorry to say Magnolia Parks again. I'm not going to say it again after this one, but Magnolia Parks. Because the thing is, I don't read sad romance books. I know Larry for this one, I think she said Full Tilt by Emma Scott. Like, there's a lot of romance books that have sad endings. I just don't read them because I don't want to be sad. So I only really read like happily ever after romances, even if like with this series it takes a hell of a long time to get to the happily ever after. But especially at the end of the first book again, I feel like this really feels like Magnolia and how she's thinking and feeling at the end of that first book when she's like pretty sure that, you know, that's that. I feel like it fits that kind of time period of this series quite well. The next one, I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. So obviously a song about putting on a brave face and just getting on with it even though you're not feeling it at all. And I have two books for this one. Hothouse Flower, which I think Larry said, but it's so perfect. Like when you read the beginnings of the Addicted series and then you read Hothouse Flower, it's like, oh my god, like we had no idea about Daisy. Like I couldn't believe it. And that is my favourite book in the series. I love Daisy Calloway with all my heart, and it's just so perfect. Like, I don't want to say too much if you've not got to there in the series, but when you read Hothouse Flower, hopefully you'll understand. I love that girl so much. And then also From Luke Off With Love by Mariana Zapata. So this is about Jasmine and Ivan, who are enemies. They like, and when I say enemies, they actually hate each other. Like, can you ever really do enemies to lovers in a contemporary romance? I don't know. But these two legitimately actually hate each other. It's not like enemies, but we're gonna flirt all day anyway. Like, they actually hate each other. Anyway, that's besides the point. Jasmine is going through a really hard time. She's been going through a hard time for the past few years. Her career is not going the way she anticipated it would go. Her partner dropped her and all this stuff. And again, like part of her family life, her relationship with her dad isn't very good. And she's having a really rough time of it. But everyone thinks she's like the Ice Princess, like cold, unfeeling, unemotional. So she kind of puts on this blank face and doesn't show how she feels. And it even takes her a long time to open up to like Ivan and her parents and her siblings. But you get to see that side of her because the whole book is in her point of view, and it is quite a long book. It's here. It's quite a chunky book. So you get to spend a lot of time in her head. And you really get to know that like she is a very confident person. She's confident in her own abilities, but she's also kind of completely broken on the inside, and you get to see her push through that and overcome that. I love that book. It's my favourite romance book of all time, by the way, From Luke Off With Love. Obsessed. The next one, The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived. For this one, I've chosen Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. Now, the book doesn't go as kind of in on the X as the song does. Obviously the song is very like, rightfully so, straight to the point. The book kind of skirts around the subject a little bit, but our female main character in Swift and Saddled had a horrific ex-husband that was very controlling of her. You do learn that reasonably early in the book, I think. And it's, again, it's not a massive plot point. It doesn't come up too much at all. But she has a horrific ex who was just awful to her. And she's kind of on the border of, has it ruined part of her? Has it not? Can she come back from this? And I think that links well to the song. Like, she's more on the edge of, like, you know, that smallest man who ever lived. Like, he definitely is the smallest man who ever lived. Her ex is horrific, but she's in that middle stages of, like, trying to overcome that, and you see her do that throughout the book. Yeah, there probably are books that fit that a little bit better, but I read that book recently and vehemently hated this woman's ex, so it just made me think of the song quite a lot. The next one, The Alchemy. I'm sorry to say this book again, particularly because I've still not finished it, and I'm still going to say Saving Six. Like, who are we to fight the alchemy? Like, Joey and Aoife, obviously, like, on, off, backwards, forwards, but who are we to fight it? Like, there's clearly something here. Why are we fighting this? Why are we just not being together? And I've still not got to the point of the book where they are together. So this is bold coming from me, but even right from the beginning, you can see this, like, pull between them, and I'm hoping it's going to get to the point in the book where they're like, why are we fighting this? Like, what are we doing? What's the point? Let's just be together. We're clearly meant to be together. And then the last song on this half of the album, Clara Bow, and I'm sorry to end it on a book that's the same as Larry's, but there's no other book to say for this for me other than Evelyn Hugo. I really couldn't think of anything else. You know, a song about fame and being in the limelight and the expectations versus the reality of that. There's just no book I could think of other than Evelyn Hugo for this one. That's kind of exactly what the book is about, like the price of fame and what you expect from it, and then what it actually ends up being like and the consequences of it all. Yeah, I just can't think of another book that's more perfect. And that brings us to the end of this. If you did enjoy it, I can do the second half of the album. Some of my favourite songs are on the anthology, so I can definitely have a go at doing that if people like this video. If you did enjoy, please give it a thumbs up down below so I know if you want me to bother doing the second part or not. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!